Yeah, I could sleep through it, so I think that was fun. Sorry, I was so boring. Thank you. Okay, I'm not going to do this. As many of you know, Encounter is hard to summarize in general, never mind in 3 minutes. For me, it wasn't one big dramatic moment, but rather a series of meaningful words and little coincidences that were actually not coincidences at all. And after taking a couple days to process it and connect the dots, I realized the experience was nothing short of amazing. I'm so grateful and humbled to have been given the opportunity to go again, and I wish I had time to share it all, but since I don't, I'll just highlight the main takeaways. I should have worn a waterproof mascara. I learned to trust God. I never went to prayer first. I stressed, I cried, I worried, I vented, and I tried to control, but I very rarely prayed, especially lately. Shortly before we were set to leave, it seemed like everything was falling apart to the point where I probably wasn't going to be able to go. 2 nights before our departure date, I sat in a hospital room. It was dark, quiet, and I was beyond worried about everything. I felt desperate and a little bored, to be honest. So I prayed. In that moment, I realized that if God wanted me to go, everything would fall into place so that it was not only possible for me to leave, but so that it would be easy to do so. To trust that if I was doing what I was supposed to do, that my family would be just fine in my absence. And they were. And I'm so grateful to God and to all of you for all of your prayers, and that everything that looked so dire only 2 weeks ago today seems way more under control. Next, I was reminded that it is a plan and a purpose for my life, and that it is okay to hope and it is okay to dream. I've always been a dreamer, but the last year or so has been difficult, and somewhere along the line I started to accept things as they were. I was disappointed. Why wasn't I married? Why wasn't I more secure financially? Why didn't my family seem happier? I didn't understand why things were not working out the way I had planned. Why everything seemed so hard all the time. I can't see. I sympathize with you, Tanya, now. Why everything seemed so hard all the time, and the burden of it all had started to weigh me down, literally. At Encounter, I was reminded again and again and again that God wants to do even more in my life than I can imagine. That I don't have to settle, but I do have to stop trying to do it my way. This is going to be very hard to put into practice, and there are definitely no guarantees, but I have an awareness, optimism, and desire that I didn't have before. Lastly in terms of today, I learned that God is as close as the mention of his name to me, and that I do not need to go to encounter him. That the peace I've been able to find in his presence is not solely located in Ontario, but at my disposal if and when I choose to go there. And since Pastor Dave wouldn't leave me there like I asked him to, I really have no choice but to practice seeking him out on my own. Thankfully, I'm blessed to have pastors and a church family that is continuously supporting and encouraging me as I try to figure all this out. Thank you again to all of you for all your prayers and encouragement over the last couple weeks. I actually think they worked.